Welcome, brothers and sisters. We starting up here once I get my mic plugged in, running behind schedule. We got a 2.5 hour study today. Plug in, mic go in. Yep. So greetings to all, Father. May they be blessed. May you keep them strong in this wisdom. May you allow them to continue in your wisdom, Father. May you bless them, keep them and their children into this grace of understanding. I am your son, Israel, Yashambayah. I pray and I come before you with my whole heart, Father, as I stay obedient as you guide us through the pages of the manifold of this grace. We will discuss these things with our brothers and sisters who are far and around the world. May you keep them, Father, and show them what they need each and every day. The times are coming, we know, Father. You have blessed us to know these things. You have given us the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding as messengers of your sons who are in the kingdom of your new coming. We know, Father, there's many things that are to be taught to the people. As we are instructed each and every day, many brothers and sisters all around the world. We thank you, Father. We obey you, Father. And we know that therefore, you are with us in the spirit. May you hear the prayers of my words, Father, that comes from my heart. As I pray for my people, and I pray for everyone who is struggling to fight off these bad awareness of demons, spirits all around them. May you mark their houses with the Lamb of the righteous blood. May you covet it. They're everywhere that they go. May their children be blessed and safe. For the coming times are in destruction mode. Our journey is leading us, but many are leading off the path of righteousness. Today will be a proper teaching which you have given and put inside of me. As I will bear witness to the teachings that you teach today, Father. I am your son. The world knows me. The world knows you. The world knows your daughters as well, who are also in you. Thank you so much, Father, for listening to this prayer. May it be justified to those who hear it. Shalom, amen. Welcome, my brothers, my sisters. I am your brother, your friend, Israel, Yashambayah. I come today to bring you the wisdom of Genesis unto Exodus. Many have taught on this subject, but today you will get a better detailed understanding. My Father is going to allow me to use the logics and the precepts of the pages. Today will be 2.5+ hours. So please stay tuned, share the channel, hit the notification bell, and make sure you allow everyone to know about us here. And here it is. This fruit is very well good for anyone who is wanting to be justified. So as I go into this detail, we are going to discuss. I hope everyone grab water, pens, or whatever you need. Make sure you have the proper Bible and the proper dictionary, because we want to also look up certain words. Now, we also do a special class every third Saturday. Sometimes it's between 3 o'clock, but those who are basically with us get the notification to their emails or their phones by their phone numbers. That's why we ask everyone to always email us, because if you want to get involved for what we are doing here, then therefore you'll need to email us so we can actually get you involved for what we are doing. Because here it is, this is a calling, everyone. This is not a game. As we see the world, we see what happened to Trump. And, you know, he wasn't the only president that this have been an attempt on. But here it is, we are seeing our world, as my father has explained, is coming to an end. Things are not normal. And the journey that we're on has stemmed from a journey of long ago, and now have gotten us here to this particular point in time. So everyone have to be aware and alert and conscious minded. Because if you're not, then here it is. You do not have the mark of grace upon your heart. So, sisters and brothers, let us get involved and get into this study. And here it is. I send my shalom to your household. Peace. Hello, my brothers and sisters. It is the set-apart spirit that brings this wisdom and knowledge before you, with the blessings of the understanding of the Exodus, which in Hebrew means departure. I am your faithful brother, Yazrael Yashambayah, who is your messenger today, sent to you by the Almighty Father. This wisdom is from him of the Exodus concept, which is about the central events as the departure of our ancestor Israelites from Egypt. The true Hebrew title is called, here it is, Shemoth. That's spelled Shemoth, Shemoth, which is continuing our history of Israel from the point of where, and here it is also to where the book of Genesis left off, with the nature of history. My fellow friends and the blessed ones who share this understanding with me, we will also view, here it is, some Hebrew scriptures on the text of this lesson as I prescribe and bear witness with you. This new blessing of understanding. So please take note where you may. Here it is, in the spirit. Now, please know that the book of Exodus records the Egyptians' oppression. Now, many of us know about the Egyptians' oppression on the Israelites multiple times throughout history. And we know that there were the Hamites, and here it is, and the Shemites, and here it is, that was up in the northern parts and around Africa. Now, we know Moses, here it is, brought the Exodus, which my father instructed, and we will get to that. Now, as this Exodus records the Egyptians' oppressions of Jacob, who was later called Israel because my father changed from Jacob to Israel, as many have known, it also so clear that it reveals our Hebrew ancestors, right? And their miraculous or miracles and deliverance by Yahuah through Moses. We know, my brothers and sisters, he led the Hebrew Israelites across the Red Sea, right? Over to Mount Sinai. Now, when they got to Mount Sinai, this is where they're settled. This is where the cloud of the brightest light settled. And here it is, it commanded them to settle. And we know that this Mount Sinai is talked in the book of the Hebrews, which they enter into a covenant with the Master, the Almighty. A covenantal law was given to Moses. A covenantal law was given to Moses. As we see, we have the 12 commandments and many other commandments that my father commands, right? So now we see they were giving the detailed prescriptions for the tabernacle, which then was a portable sanctuary that soon, much later, would foreshadow the Jerusalem temple, remember Solomon's temple. My brothers and sisters, this service brought on the revealing, here it is, of a dramatic episode of behavior, right? That had rebellion, right? And it also had repentance in it and also divine mercy. Now understand, when Moses came, this is why he came. He came because here it is, he was rebelling against the Pharaoh, who was putting a heavy burden on the Israelites. And here it is, he was forcing, after the Exodus, of getting those Israelites out. But before they got out, he was going to Pharaoh because here it is, he was asking Pharaoh, let the people go. Because Yah had sent him and instructed Aaron and him to go before the Pharaoh to make sure that they can get released. But then we also see the divine mercy, which forced the broken covenant to be renewed by later Solomon, right? We know he built the temple for the master Yahuah as he descended and covered it, right? Because as we see, the tabernacle and the covenant of the ark had a veil. The priest was righteous enough to receive the burnt offerings of the people. So now we understand that. As this only made our ancestors, here it is, Israelites, a nation again, once they came back into covenant and there were priests, and confirmed a unique relationship with the Almighty Yahweh. And here it is, also Yahuah, the Father. In his laws, which is called, my brothers and sisters, the Hebrew Torah. So now when you hear brothers and sisters speak of the covenant of the law, we are speaking of the Torah. Which had later been misunderstood by so many Israelites. As we read through the history of the book, many had broke the covenant of my father Yahuah. So therefore, they were lost, but many were saved. Because under the Hebrew Torah, here it is, that now would constitute to this day. That means here it is, this law, this old law is still active today, brother and sister, as you're listening. Because here it is, many say we are not under the law no more, we're under grace. But here it is, they don't understand the term that they're using, because here it is, it haven't been given in full detail. Because we're talking about Genesis unto Exodus. So here it is, it even get farther into our last generation, which you will see later on. Now understand, this constituted to this day as the moral and civil law. That means everyone must actually join together in love of this grace, have thy love for thy brother, love for thy sister, and love for the law of Yahuah. Because here it is, without the law in your heart, then you're not in covenant. If you're not trying to work each and every day to be clean, to be pure, to be justified, then what happens is many people, here it is, get forced out of this covenant. Now, I just explained as well, as I bear witness to my father's teaching, the moral and civic, okay, civil law, which here it is, was in covenant with Yah. These Israelites, our ancestors now. Now understand, it's ritual, spiritual legislation by which they were to become his set apart people. This is why the covenant came, to set them apart from the wickedness that where they came. Because many things had happened in their journey as they was going through the Exodus. They was basically being stricken by many other different nations. They were being attacked, as we will read and see in Genesis. Moses was having a hard time trying to get the people to safety. So now here it is, we see again today in the last days of this generation of people, many are not aware that Yah wants to walk with them and therefore lead them out of bondage, which is, here it is, out of this present Exodus, right? So Hebrew people as a nation, they were set apart. Now I tell you, here it is, my brothers and sisters, your family and friends, that many elements of this new law, here it is, became into them so righteous. It had fundamentals to the teachings of the mighty Son to come later. Here it is, because we know Yeshua says, I have not come to abolish the law, but only to add to it, right? So how can one get rid of the Old Testament and only keep the New Testament? So what we're seeing here is clear that the Old Testament followed right into the new grace, which is, here it is, the New Testament and the Third Testament together with Yeshua. Because our uncle James, when you read his book, where he's clearly talking about moral conduct, how to be as an Israelite. So now here it is. This is the teachings to help you to understand how to be set apart on your journey to Exodus. Okay? Because here it is. We're leading now a many Israelites who are now waking up under the new concept of the covenant. Here it is, law, which is through Yeshua. But here it is, the Torah is the same as with Yeshua. So many people try to separate the old law of Yahuah from Yeshua, Yahweh. We can't do that. The whole book have to stay together. And here it is. Only book that was separated was John's book of Revelations. Man added that into the book. So now we talked about that in many videos, so I'm not going to go there again, but here it is. Who is Yeshua Yahweh, right? Because many people are calling him Jesus, Lord and God, Allah, and many other names. But he clearly tells us all his true name, the name that is pleasing to him. So here it is. He's sending us messengers all over the world. And we are messengers from the kingdom of our Father. We cannot use any name. We have to use the name that we know. Because here it is, even by being in a physical body, we're still understanding that many are gone astray and led off the path and right back into bondage. Now, remember when Moses brought the Israelites out, they got so mad and pissed off about what they didn't have and what they did need and why it didn't come too soon. Because here it is, they didn't think Moses was a messenger from my Father. But here it is, they forgot. You were just in bondage. And here it is, Moses came back and brought you all out, right? Here it goes again in today's generation. But many are not using the name, they're using other names. Those are blemishes. So now, back to my logic, which will reveal his coming in the scriptures. Because we got to see to believe. Many got to see to believe, right? Many don't understand that Moses had doubt, Aaron had doubt that Yahweh was real and will do the things that he would do. Even though he showed them many things, the people made them discouraged. So here it is. When you're around a lot of negative energy, okay, let's talk about that. Negative energy will only consume people's understanding of wisdom. That's right. Because it'll siphon out your knowledge and it will therefore force you to doubt. And then here it is. Yah says if you doubt, then you don't have the full love of compassion. Your prayers is heard but unheard because your doubt. You don't believe what you ask for. See? So you have to understand this Genesis unto Exodus is a modern time talk about what we're doing today. The scripture so tells us as we go to Matthew 5. Now I'm going to be reading out the book. We got 2.5 hours. I'm in Arizona, so I know many of your brothers and sisters are around the world. Here it is, have different times. So many of you might tune in. Here it is after we done started, but you have the opportunity to always review this stream. But here it is. We're going into Yahweh's spiritual law, which many haven't talked about because everyone is looking at the physical aspects, but they're not looking to understand that Yahweh is said, I am spirit. You must worship in spirit. So now let's get that right and understand that we got to now connect to the spiritual law that was given. Now here in Matthew's chapter 5, look at verse 21, everybody. We're going to be paying attention to verse 21, chapter 5. And when you get here, this is clearly talking about anger. Because I just explained that anger was around Moses on his Exodus, right? With the Israelites. Certain places he couldn't go. They couldn't go. They couldn't pass because they was getting cut off by who? The Edomites, Esau, the Gad, right? So now what we finna look at here is now to understand our Exodus from the Genesis, okay? Today in modern day time, because here it is, we see in chapter 5, we see many people are upset about many things. Now watch this teaching. You have heard that it was said to your what? Ancestors. You shall not kill, right? And whoever kills will be liable, what? To judgment. Verse 22. Now these are the identical words of my Father. Some of your books might have it written in red, saying that these were the words of Yeshua that he uttered, right? Now, we are in Matthew chapter 5, as we see here. This is Yahshua. Now, understand, Matthew is writing about these things of my father Yahshua. Now, as I continue in verse 22, but I say to you, whoever is what? Angry with his brother, I'm going to explain this in a minute, will be liable to judgment. And whoever says to his brother, I reject you, will be answerable to the Sanhedrins, and whoever says you fool will be liable to the fiery Gehenna. Then therefore in verse 23, therefore if you bring your gifts to the altar and there recall that your brother has anything against you, leave your gift there at the altar, go first and be reconciled with your brother, right? That means make amends. People ain't supposed to stay angry. If you did something wrong, you are supposed to, from Genesis unto Exodus, go on to your brother to make things right. Because Yah says if you keep that in without releasing your wrong, then judgment comes from you, brother. Judgment will be on you, sister. And here it is. You won't escape it because of that one thing that you know that you should have done, but you didn't do. So this is why many have read this book, and my father have constantly put this spirit up on this lesson. So therefore one can see that angry, all right, angry, then you come and offer your gift, verse 25, settle with your opponent quickly while on the way to court with him. Otherwise, your opponent will hand you over to the judge, right? Now, understand, when wrong is wrong, people look for justice. And this is why my father have set up court systems, right? For that justice. Because he knew wicked Judas' spirit will be in this world being controlled by the dragon and the beast. So here it is. Many have overlooked the spiritual law of Genesis unto Exodus for the present time. Because as we see today, many people are angry. Many people are frustrated. Many people are suffering. Many people are hurting. Children are crying for their parents' deliverance of mercy. And many children are basically keeping their minds and their thoughts private from their parents because they know their parents are angry. And they don't want to utter anything of righteousness because of that anger that they see on their face. So now what we see in here, I am amplifying what you didn't see. Why? Because my father have given me the decree to do so. Many have denied all truth of trying to reconcile any types of relationships. But see, here it is. They don't understand. Here in this book, it just said that, here it is, and the judge will hand you over to the guard, and you will be thrown into where? Prison. Now, many of our brothers and sisters are in prison right now, right? Why? Because they are angry. Angry at the world. Because this world they don't understand. But they don't understand that they have the blueprint right before them. For a moment before it's removed. Yeah. Oh, yes. When the one world religion comes into play with the Pope, and here it is, the one world leader, they're going to cultivate a one world religion, okay, bringing peace and security. And anyone that therefore denies the peace and security is an enemy against the flag of the United States and would be therefore an imposter as a homegrown terrorist. Now, this is anger. This is anger. And this is why many have watched many YouTube videos and seen the concentration camps, the guillotines that sit there, Walmarts closing down and having underground terrains for trains to take people, just as they did with the Jewish community, okay? And understand, I proved to the Jewish community, they took their whole video down 10 years ago, because I had the actual document from that press, and I still have it. And I should have had it here to show you guys that here it is. They lied that the Jews were being gassed by Nazis, which was completely inaccurate information, because it proved in that document from their own press, from over there where the Jews were, because I told them I have proof that lies have exist and created anger. And here it is, those Jews wasn't gassed in a gas chamber just because they was Jewish. It proved in the paper why they were killed. Now, this is an archive that I have that I cannot tell you how we obtain all the information, just like I got the whole scrolls, the original that came out the jars. Now, realize, I done spoke Hebrew before. I'm here to justify the community, to get you to understand what you didn't see in this little bit of text. It is talking about anger. And here it is, how Genesis 2 Exodus have gotten us here to the modern day time, and people are angry today. Very angry. I mean, so angry that here it is, they want fight, and war. Fight, and war. But here it is, they're misunderstanding that you have a blueprint right here to describe. Now, as I continue, it says you will be handed over to the guard and you will be thrown into prison. Now, again, many of our brothers and sisters are in prison for reckless thoughts. That's right. Many sisters are out of jail for reckless thoughts. And I won't say what they're doing, but I can tell you that judgment, if you don't get delivered by the moral conduct, what I just explained in my logic, you will therefore would not be justified, but be handed over. Because my Father says anyone without the decree of the new covenant in them, which is a spiritual covenant, will not be justified. So now we're seeing why so many of our young people are going to jail and prison. Why so many of them are killing many individuals out here. Didn't we just read that? So now we're seeing this lines up with today, right? Verse 26, Shalom, I say to you. They got amen, but it's supposed to be in the scroll, Shalom. Shalom, I say to you, you will not be released until you have what? Paid the last penny. Verse 27, you have heard that it was said, you should not commit adultery. Here we go. Genesis unto Exodus. And we're seeing what they were doing then. Then Moses had to put a man and a woman to death because they had sexual relationship and that woman had a husband. They snuck off to have sex, but then therefore they were caught and then they were stoned. Y'all remember the lesson. So today we're seeing many of the copycats of our ancestors today in this generation by multiple people. Now let me let you understand something my father just told me to say. Many people don't understand that people are turning weird. Why today? Because of the spirits that has been released from the Exodus of the Euphrates River. That's right. All of those that died in that Babylon were spiritually put trapped inside of those tunnels. Now, many YouTube videos say they hear chains and all of this stuff, which is myth, because there's no chains that you will hear. Because here it is, what Father has already released is what you see today in your world. Many people have changed. They're doing stuff that is so weird to other people who are normal for the minute. And here it is, this is children and adults. These spirits are connecting to these people. Why do you think in Revelation it said they won't kill them, but they'll harm them, right? So that means this is possession of anger. So now realize, adultery, he says, you should not commit adultery. Verse 28, but I say to you, everyone who looks, there we go. Now we're understanding Yeshua, my Father. why he says, I haven't come to abolish the law, but only to add to it, right? The love for the law of the whole law. And that means woman and man cannot be looking at each other in lust, because that means, here it is, you're staying in bondage. How could you be free? That's impossible, because here it is, without the scripture, man and woman who does these things are dead to life. And here it is, a final judgment is coming when they die. And here it is, they're going to always be angry because they cannot find real love. Because this is why Yah says, only thing I have added to the law was love. So many have rejected it and thrown it off and refused to obey the spiritual moral laws, right? Verse 28, but I say to you, everyone who looks at a woman with lust has already what? Committed adultery with her in his heart. Verse 29, if your eye cause you to sin, that means, here it is, my father is being very detailed, then you need to stay away from the woman. You need to make sure that, here it is, you can contain and control yourself and get stronger. You need to stay away. That means you need to get into covenant with Yah in your heart to realize you're sinning deliberately. And it's a small thing to adjust. Because here it is, if you can find the one that can truly love you, if you are in discovery or in your journey from Genesis to Exodus to look for real love, not like Mary J. Blige though, but here it is, the love of the Father, Yeshua, then you will find a compatible person and you won't be angry when you see real love, okay? Many people get jealous, right? When they see people who are basically heavily in love with each other. And they say, man, I wish I can find someone like that. I wish I can be in love. I wish I can have somebody, right? You do have somebody. You have my Father Yeshua first. And if you can come under his covenant, he'll show you who is for you. Now understand this. That's for man and woman. Now understand this. Verse 29. If your eye calls you to sin, he says, take it out or remove yourself from that sin. It is better for you to lose one of your members than to have your whole body thrown into hell. Verse 30. And if your right hand calls you to sin, now people use their hand to do a lot of things. So now understand, cause you to sin. If your hands are causing you to sin, brothers and sisters, you have not understood Genesis unto Exodus. And you don't know that Yahweh is walking with you and telling you to follow me. That's right. He's saying, I am walking with you, even though you don't have an understanding, but I am whispering to you in your conscious mind to follow me. So now he says, if your hand calls you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than to have your whole body go into hell. Now, brothers and sisters, understand what we're talking about here today. We're talking about how Yahweh is walking among the earth. And here it is. The spirit of righteousness is still alive. Why? Because it gives everyone the common sense that every time something comes to your mind, that it's coming from your heart. So if your heart is full of bad and angry and no moral conduct, then you suffering internally without love. That then turns into jealousy and rivalry, okay? Because here it is, this is something you want, but you can't obtain. You might have this relationship and that relationship, but this relationship breaks up and that relationship is starting to break up. But here it is, you got to realize your main relationship should be with my Father Yeshua, because he is going to be the one that guides you to the right people. So that way you can have a real relationship and a real familyhood, because here it is, you're going to a kingdom that is to come, right? Because you already know that Yeshua done came in the spirit and sent his messengers of the 144,000 throughout the world. You can tell them by the words that come out their mouth. Didn't he say that? They won't be using words of man or be led or be trained by man, but trained by me, myself, right? So now I don't have to get into all of that because everybody know who I am and they know who my Father is. So now here it is. It is time for you, everyone, to get this lesson down. This is a ritual spiritual legislation. That's right. To allow you to be outside of a government that is evil. Because as we see, America is completely gone astray. Everybody is angry. Why? We got debt, credit card debts, cars, homes. Many things have went wrong, right? Lack of food. Food prices are high. They are still raising the percentage. Went up 3% more. That's evil. That means they are angry because of a coming one that is sent by my Father to try to readjust the economy. See? But we know that this won't work because we are in the last days. My Father already done made it clear. You only have a year and a half. Only a year and a half, everybody. So start counting, okay, from this day forth. Because I tell you the truth. Everything we have done here at IVI has only told you the truth. Today, we're talking about Yahweh walking with you. He says, follow me. And here it is. If you cannot do that, brothers and sisters, you are in prison, just like the Bible just said. The scrolls just said. You'll be led to the judge. And here it is. I'm not talking not only the judge of this time of your court system. I'm talking about the Almighty Father, Yahuah. He is going to judge and throw you right into hell. So now realize if you don't change, now understand what we read. This was the start of all things new to come, right? By the Almighty Yahuah's spiritual law, which he also added this law clearly to see and to show us that here it is in Matthew 15, verse 4. We must go there. Now in 15 verse 4, my brothers and my sisters, this is clearly showing you that one must get this ritual, spiritual legislation into their system. Because we have proven that this world has rebellion, and here it is, it has repentance, and it has divine mercy available. And they are categorized for each individual that can hear the calling, for each one of them, right? Now let's go to Matthew's verse 4. He says clearly, for Yahuah said, honor your earth parents and your female parent, right? And whoever curses, or here it is, be angry with either parent, right, shall die, right? Not my words, but my Father's words. Must die. Because we're talking about Yahweh walking with everyone, whispering to you in your mind, knowing what to do right, and here it is, knowing what you have done wrong or planning to do wrong, right? So here it is, this legislation of ritual, spiritual, moral, civil, and here it is, commands of my Father. As we see here, many children are going to prison and hanging out in the streets and doing much wicked things and being conceived and don't know how they're being possessed by evilness. Because here it is, everybody knows the Euphrates River is dried up. But what you don't know is that the spirit's already been released into your world. Every wicked person who are not trying to be saved is only getting worse. Just proved it. So now we're seeing children die. You know, some of them make it to 25. Some of them make it a little longer. But I tell you, I assure you people, that here it is, many of your children are in prison, or most of them are dying from AIDS because they have therefore been introduced to bisexualness and homosexualness, lesbianness, and many other things that are against this book. So here it is. We got parents that are also, here it is, cheering them on. So they don't know that judgment is on the way. You need to separate. If your child cannot therefore have common sense, or you can't have common sense, then y'all both are destroyed. The whole house. Most times the whole house. So I'm telling you no lie here. I am only telling you what my father has instructed me to bring forth. Because here it is. He wants you to know your book without all of the politics. But here it is, giving you the simple logics and the precepts to help your heart be adjusted right. That's why we came. IVI is here. Intelligent voices. It speaks volumes. Intelligent voices. Israelites. So now we are understanding now, hearing that this is allowing you to see people are angry. Children is out of order. We have the elderly. Here it is. No one is even thinking about their grandmother, their grandpapa. When the last time did you go over there and add or help or add aid to a situation to help them out? Okay. Many young people, just like the word have said, would be cast out into the world. And only a few would come back in. And here it is. When it get really worse, and that means once your brother Israel Yeshambaya is gone, because my father has put a date on each one of us, and once we are removed, 144,000, many will find out, wow, we need to change. And that's the 1/3. But now here, as we see, Yahweh is walking with you. Yeshua is he that has renewed this for all of us to live by in the Father's glory through his, here it is, grace of forgiving spirit, right? Now, my brothers and sisters, this new concept testament in the Hebrew Israelites' life is a moral teaching. Didn't I just say that? Now, when you look at moral, let's look that word up, because many of you, I know that sometimes you have to go way deep, right? So now we're going to go in the dictionary here, and we're going to pull up moral, okay? We're going to get the definition and the pronouns and the antonyms of it, right? Now, when we put moral in here, I'm sorry. Big old finger. Now, when we get this definition, everybody, I hope everyone downloaded it to their phones. Clearly says here, we're going to look up this word so people can get an understanding of what I'm saying, moral, because these are words that many people don't really have a relationship with. So now here it is, when we look in the dictionary, moral, of or relating to principles. Then we just say laws, principles of right and wrong in behavior. So that's a decision, brother. That's a decision, sister. Yah is telling you, you have a decision to make. Here it is, your moral conduct have to be adjusted, or you will be destroyed, like the Bible said. Your children who are basically against you will be destroyed. It says it in the Bible. So here it is. You got to realize how and when to follow me, which is Yah. I'm not saying me, but follow Yahweh, who's in me, because he says, you know, expressing or teaching, here it is, conceptions of right behavior. So now you know what the word moral means when we're talking about moral conduct. What James, that's why I tell you, everyone, James is your third testament. Man has lied to you thinking that there's only two testaments, the Old and the New Testament. They're wrong. James is your third testament. It's talking about how to be a true Israelite in moral conduct. So now when you read that, my brothers and sisters, look at verse C, because they got many, here it is, definitions conforming to a standard of right behavior. Number D, sanctified by an operative on one's conscience or ethical judgments. That means your decisions have to be right, brother. Your decisions have to be right, sister. And that means here it is. Yah says, I want you to understand your moral conduct, because here it is your Israelite lifestyle. And here it is. If you don't know how to do that, then you're lost in the sauce. Now understand, we can see it clearly in the book of Romans. Let's go to the book of Romans, everybody. And we're going to Romans chapter 13. Because today's topic, Yahweh is walking with you. And here it is. He's telling you to follow me. So now realize in chapter 13 of Romans 8 and 10, as it clearly reads, my brothers and sisters, that's going to be 8 through 10. Thank you. Here it is. Owe nothing to anyone except to love one another, for the one who loves another has fulfilled the law. Right there. So if somebody say they don't love you, what are they telling you? They're telling you what we read earlier. They want to be judged, they want to be in bondage, and they want to die. That's what they're saying. And it's clear that they're clearly telling you that they're angry and confused. That's right. Now, as I continue, it clearly says, verse 9, the commandments, you shall not commit adultery. You shall not kill. Now, kill don't mean that all the time physical way. Kill is sometimes when people are slandering you for no reason, because they don't have the light in them. But here it is. They want it, but they don't want it the way you got it. They want it freely. And here it is, and choose to still do exactly whatever they want to do. It won't work. Okay? That person is completely destroyed, because here it is. Their mind is on two different roads that lead to destruction. Okay? It is deceiving them. So he says, you shall not commit adultery, you should not kill, you should not steal, you should not covet. Woo! Do y'all see all of these decrees that many people in your world don't follow or even think about? Now let's look at some of these words. Let's go and put in, here it is, adultery. Adultery. Oh, I got to clear it out. Oops, sorry about that, y'all. Here we go. Adultery. Here's this word, everybody, so you can get it down into your system. Adultery is a voluntary sexual intercourse, right? That means a person have agreed to commit this sin, right? Between a married person. See, that means this person is in covenant under Yah's spiritual ritual law of legislation, which I explained earlier. Now, here it is. This also goes for those who are not married, though. See, because here it is. Many people are basically test driving people. That's right. That means here, let me see how this is. Let me see how this is. Let me see how that is. And if that ain't good, then I'm going over here. They dipping and they dabbling, right? But before they done, they don't ruin the whole body. Now realize it says here, voluntarily sexual intercourse is between a married person and someone other than that person, currently spouse or partner. So now here it is. A partner is just a person you're in a relationship with. But here it is. What did the Bible say? Even if you look at a person in lust, that is sin. So women do it too. And here it is. They don't know that Yah is walking with them. And he's constantly saying, psst, psst, follow me. Follow me. He's saying this so much where people hear this in their conscious mind to do something right, but they say, nah, ain't no fun in that. I want to do something bad. And this is what they do. But they're leading themselves to prison and judgment, right? Now, as we continue this, in 13, and now here it is, as we have gotten down here to what's this here? Covet, and whatever other commandments there may be, he says, are sums up in this saying, namely, you shall what? Love your neighbors as yourself, right? And then verse 10, love does no evil. Love does no evil to the neighbor. Love is the fulfillment of the law. Now, didn't Moses go to Egypt and fulfill the law? Didn't he tell Pharaoh that I come for the people, the Israelite people? My father says, let them go out of bondage, meaning all those who want to be free, right? But what did we see when they got free? Many of them started acting up, thinking Moses was just a simple man, okay? Yes, he was a simple man, but they didn't realize the spirit in him. How could a man have the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding to feed you with and to lead you with? So here it is. Those Israelites had to know that Yahweh was walking with them and whispering, follow Moses up out of this Exodus. Same thing today with your brother Yisrael Yashambayah. Calling all Israelites who are willing, follow me. Why would you be afraid? Why would you want to stay here and live in a mess of confusion? To have your kids not listening to you, to have your husband or your wives, whoever, cheating on you, or have a boyfriend or girlfriend who are doing the same thing. And then you're still out here feeling hurt, depressed, and here it is in bondage. Who would like to do that? Yah is saying, follow me for a reason, right? Follow me. Oh, let's stuff my glasses here. So we see this here, and we understand that Yah is clearly saying, you must understand these sayings of the commandments. Yeshua, he is that who renewed, right? And now we see here in verse 10, love does no evil. Love does no evil. Now, I clearly said my father came to fulfill the law, and he did. He added love. Anyone who loves my father's law loves me. Anyone that keeps my real name loves me. Anyone that follows my messengers love me. And my messengers are telling you the truth. And they're telling you where the truth came from by what name? Yahweh. No other. Because we will not mix any other fruit with righteous fruit. I don't know nobody will get a glass of water and then pour mud in it. Why would you want to mix your truth? Why would you do that? Why would you even think that way? I'll tell you. It's because here it is. You're planning to go to hell. That's right. Because here it is. Nobody have taught you this. But now that you are being taught this, My Father hold you liable to this now because you have heard. This is why YouTube and all of these other brands are out here to allow you to hear the truth throughout the whole world. And then shall the end come, right? So now realize, you see, this is the fulfillment of the law, which is by the spiritual one with the Son, who is Yahweh, Yeshua, who brings the new covenant, and address it through the Father, Yahuah, with a promise for all life for those who turn from their unjust ways, right? Now understand, brothers and sisters, he also tells us something else. He tells us about a new covenant, right? For the Hebrew Israelites of today, of modern day time. Now we know the Exodus from Genesis 2, here it is, to Exodus with the beginning and up to Moses. But then we know that it continued. It continued through who? My Father Yeshua, Yahweh, who I am, who's in me. And here it is, I am obedient to this teaching as I bear witness, as you are learning today, how to fix things on your journey. As you know now, Yahweh is walking with you, asking you, follow me. Clearly saying, do right. Follow me. Do right. And here it is, stay on the path of righteousness with my Son, because here it is, it comes with a covenant of peace. This spiritual law is a law of love, right? And this law is grafted into the heart, written on the new tablet of flesh. And here it is, it's letting you understand you are, brother, you are, sister, a Hebrew Israelite, nothing else. Everything man has added onto you from Africa to the New World of America have only lied to you, because you've been on the exodus of your ancestors. You've been dropped off as an offspring, okay? Now understand that we need this to be in a spiritual control as we have witnessed to our new life. So when you make these adjustments, as you follow me, you will see a difference in the love that the Father has for you. Because here it is, he will show it. I want to show you in the scriptures. That's right. Exactly. Let's go to 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians, everybody. And we're going to be looking at chapter 10. And we're going to be looking at 1 through 4. Now, when you get there, it clearly says, I do not want you to be unaware, brothers and sisters, that our ancestors were all under the cloud of righteousness. See, this is in the Bible. And all passed through the sea, didn't they? The sea split, Moses crossed. Verse 2, and all of them were baptized, here we go, into Moses. Now you see why my Father today is making this video to tell you, follow me. Baptized into Moses, into the cloud, and into the sea. Verse 3, all ate the same spiritual food. That's what it says. So that means that you have to believe what my Father is saying to you today. You have to believe that a messenger is in your presence. You have to believe that he's offering you salvation and protection around your home and your children. He don't come to destroy, but comes to deliver. I don't come to yell in the streets, but to be silent, to secretly call each one of you to count. Verse 3, all ate the same spiritual food. Verse 4, all drank the same spiritual drink, for the drink is from a spiritual rock. that followed them, and the rock was Yahweh. You see that, everybody? So now here it is. We see that Yahweh is our rock. He is our joy. He is our peace. He brings deliverance and salvation by redeeming you under the correct ordinance of his spiritual law. Now we see why he says, follow me. Because the truth is before you, no lying. It's here to keep you, here to justify you, right? So now we see the rock was Yahweh in this verse. My brothers and sisters, please see this wisdom, which is your insight. And please know that knowledge is your clear understanding, which was lost, but now has been found again with me and my Father. But now, I tell you, the mighty Father has said to all of us, that's right, have said to all of us in our hearts. He has told us what he said in 1 Peter, right? Go to 1 Peter chapter 2, everybody. What did my father and your father say? Have you read it? Have you seen it? Because here it is. This is going to comply with your heart. Chapter 2, 1 Peter, verse 9. He says, but you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a set-apart nation. That's right. A people of his own, so that you may announce the praise of Yahweh, who called you out of darkness into his wonderful lifestyle of peace. See, this is in the Bible. This is not lying. This is telling you the truth. This is helping you, brother and sister, and your children who are listening, to know my Father is before you and now baptizing you into his spirit. The same spirit that your brother Israel Yashambayah has. Why? Because now your knowledge have understanding. You have seen the Bible and saw with your own eyes truth. Not something to confuse you, but something to make clear detail of what Yah, my Father, is saying today. As I am obedient in this body to stay out the way, to allow him to speak. Because here it is, we all must be obedient with respect to the law. So now as we see this here in the book, there's no denying that, right? 1 Peter 2:9. Now we tell you, brothers and sisters, this is what the devil of the earth wanted to steal from you, this peace. That's right. These hard times didn't start in 1619 with our ancestors in West Virginia of Jamestown. It started way before that. The oppression of our ancestors. We must look deep in Exodus chapter 1 as we go there. Chapter 1, brother. Let's see. Now we're going to our ancestors, because now we want to realize our modern day time of our offsprings, which you and I are. And here it is. This is going to be 1 through 23 we're reading. Because Yah says you got to get clarity. I want you to know what I'm saying. I want you to be clearly understanding of how to be an Israelite in modern day times today in a Babylon that your ancestors were brought to, that now you and your children are now offsprings of. Okay? We're not leaving nobody out. This is for the Caucasian, who are the Chaldeans and the Nicolaitans. Okay? And we're talking about the African Americans, so-called. And we're talking about the Hamites. And we're talking about the Shemites. And we're talking about everybody in the world. Now, as we go here, Exodus, chapter 1, we're going to read 1 through 23. Clearly says, This is about Jacob's descendants in Egypt. Now we know Jacob became Israel, right? And he started the 12 tribes, right? And then we see there was a merging of one tribe into another tribe, and then there was one lost tribe that left 9 nations. And then Judah came of Yeshua, and this lion would graft in the 9 into Levi and to Benjamin from the south, out of the north, which therefore complies to 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, get that right. Because here it is, people don't understand who is who. Mexicans are being called Izakara when they are Natelli. Because most of them have European dads from Italy, Rome. Okay? Do your research. Review our video. So now here it is. Yah is walking with you and saying, follow me. Now let's read here in Exodus chapter 1:1-23 to get a little back story. These are the names of the son of Israel who accompanied by their household entered into Egypt with Jacob: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, as that was merged into another tribe. And then we see Natelli, who is the Mexican today. Okay. And then here it is. All light-skinned Mexicans are from Natelli, brothers and sisters. Quit telling them that they Issachar. Okay. That's inaccurate information. They are from Argentina. They are the one that formed and helped form the British with the British, the new land. And here it is. They all came here together. Now realize Natelli and Gad, Asher, the total number of Jacob's direct descendants was 70. Joseph was already in Egypt. Now Joseph and all his brothers, that whole generation died. Now realize I've been telling you, my father is dividing every generation down to the last generation. So now here it is. We see why many brothers and sisters are basically acting up, being wicked, so to speak. Because here it is, they forgot that the Euphrates River released over 200 million demons who were bound to that place, up on the humanity that doesn't have the mark of my father on their heart. That's right. So now you can understand why your kids can be flipped out, okay? The moment they're induced to the world, people and demons are waiting on them to therefore cause them to have lack. Lack of what? Your obedience. See, each parent tells their child rules and regulations to follow, to be correct, to be righteous, to be always good. Here it is, in good conduct. But now what we see today, children are lost. They don't respect their parents, old or young. And the parents are completely confused, wondering why their children are acting up like this and why all of them are on some type of drug. Okay? It's because the devil, Halil, want to keep them children. Didn't the word say it will steal your children in Deuteronomy? You will look for them, but they won't return because they'll be in the streets like a bull caught up in the net. Everybody in their phone, the internet. Okay? So now when you're seeing everybody got their head down, but they don't have their hands together to pray. Because here it is, judgment is on the way. Now, as I continue to read this, verse 7, that whole generation died, but now verse 7, but the Israelites were fruitful and prolific. They, flip this page, they multiplied and became so very numerous that the land was filled with them, right? And then it says in verse 8, then a new king who knew nothing of Joseph rose to power in Egypt, right? He said to his people, See, the Israelite people have multiplied and become more numerous than we are. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them to stop their increase. Otherwise, in time, it says, a war, they too may join our enemies to fight against us. See, they was thinking wicked. And then it says, and so leave the land. Verse 11, accordingly, they set supervisors over the Israelites. Here we go, to oppress them with forced labor. Now, didn't our people was in slavery in the plantations? Now, here it is, ain't our people in slavery in their mind today with their phones? Now, realize they had to build for Pharaoh, here it is, the cities of Pethamah and Ramsey. Here it is, verse 12, yet the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied and spread it, so that the Egyptians became to, here it is, put more pressure on the Israelites by misery. The Egyptians became to, here it is, oppress the Israelites. Verse 13. So the Egyptians reduced the Israelites to cruel slavery, right? Verse 14, making life bitter for them with hard labor. Don't you see that today, brothers and sisters? Our brothers and sisters are working hard labor. And here it is. Everybody now, just like the word said of my father, will be chasing money in the end times. Don't you see people are trying to make more money today because of the things that's outpriced? Because here it is, this was set up deliberately. This was a scheme crafted by the dragon to be put on the demon of the world that's running all of the government systems, okay? So now here it is, at mortar and brick and all kinds of field work, cruelty, oppressed in all their labor. See that? The man of the devil is completely taken more of what you need to make you work more for what you don't need because you done forgot the Bible. You done forgot the Hebrew Bible. While you were on your journey walking with Yeshua, and here it is, Yeshua says, follow me. Follow the wisdom that I have for you. Now here it is in verse 15. The king of Egypt told the Hebrew midwives, watch this, everybody, one of whom was called Shepharah, and the other Puah, they got Puah. And then when you act as midwives for the Hebrew women, Puah, my bad, look on the birth stool. If it is a boy, he says, kill it or kill him. But if it is a girl, she may live. Verse 17. The midwives, however, feared Yahuah. They did not do as the king of Egypt had ordered them, but let the boys live. Verse 18. So the king of Egypt summons the midwives and asked them, why have you done this, allowing the boys to live? See, they wanted to cut off the backbone of the Israelite men, because here it is, we are the strength of Israel for our women and for our whole community and our nation, right? So if you kill off the man, then you have a weak nation, right? So now here it is. The midwives answered Pharaoh, the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women. They are robust and gave birth before the midwives arrived. Therefore, Yahuah dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very numerous, right? And because of the midwives, they feared Yahuah. Yahuah built up families for them, though. Pharaoh then commanded all his people, throw into the Nile every boy, here it is, that is born. Ain't that wicked? Didn't we just talk about that? Wicked thoughts. Because here it is, moral conduct is not in your heart. And here it is, children are so wicked against their own parents. But here it is, we see relationships are also being broken. People are looking for love, but in the wrong places. Because here it is, the Bible says, I have added love for you who will love me and the Father and the words that we speak. And here it is, come back into covenant, right? So he says, every boy was thrown, and here it is. Pharaoh then commanded all his people, throw into the Nile every boy that is born, but you may let the girls live. Wow. That's crazy, right? Don't we see many of our sisters today being slaves by men who are basically operating like pharaohs, right? So here it is. We have a high rate of loss of women because they are basically selling out themselves, literally, right? By these new Egyptian pharaohs, men. How could you love your children and at the same time put them in slavery? Or here it is. How could children say they love but want slavery? Okay? Because they won't listen to their parents. And here it is. They don't think that the parents is the ones that got you to the status of adulthood to where you are today. If you didn't eat well or have proper shelter or clothes or the assets that you needed that Yah provided, you would have died. You would have been thrown in the Nile long ago. But by the love of that parent, it made sure that you had the things and the supplements that you needed to grow. So why would children turn, or anyone turn, on love unless you are an enemy against my father Yeshua? That's the only way I see that. That's the only way I know that's a fact. Many people who are basically 2/3 of this world are dying in hell. And then therefore you have a small remnant fighting for their life. Mothers, fathers are suffering because they have never seen a world be this wicked. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you would have never heard of some of the things that you are seeing today in your world. So why wouldn't people wake up to the truth? Why wouldn't people recognize the servant of Yah? Why wouldn't you know that you have justification at hand to make a difference in your life? Don't be afraid to apologize. Come forth with your heart, he says. Don't be a person who refused to release themselves from bondage. Moses called the Israelites. Many prophets have come and risen up. Jeremiah have told many Israelite ancestors the truth. So here today in the last generations, you have the same thing that is being applied to you. So now we see, he says, but you may let all the girls live. Now this, here it is, as our ancestors were, in this path from Jacob to Joseph, our whole generation, as we seen, died. Those ancestors died. And we're seeing our offsprings today die, as we're proving. This is what the world is doing. People are being possessed by the Euphrates River. And man has made it look like it's a fantasy, which is called the Bible. It's not. It is real. It has traveled through every time of generation. As you can see, as we read, every word of precept in logic, here it is, lines up to the truth of what you see. Now, unless you blind and can't see, like Stevie Wonder, then you're being led by another person who can see, and you got to trust the person that's leading you, right? Because here it is, you trust in them to make sure you don't bump into things, right? So now understand what we're talking about here today. Your brother Israel, Yah, who is sent in the messenger form to be obedient to this teaching to bear witness what my father is saying. Precept to logic. Now we see, my brothers and sisters, the oppression came upon them in the land of Egypt, which then had or held them to 430 years. That's right. You didn't know that, did you? Some of you. But here it is, 430 years. Now, we done talked about 1619, but we're talking now 430 years with Moses, from Genesis to Exodus, of slavery and death. That's right. Many of them died, not only by the hands of the Egyptians, but by the hands of Father Yah. Because here it is, it was set apart. See? Even the Egyptian Pharaoh was trying to set our nation apart. What did our Most High Father do, though? Yes. There was a call upon them with the commission of Moses, I tell you. The mighty Father showed a way out of bondage, because we know that he had love for his nation of people. Now, when we look in Exodus chapter 2, and we look at verse 23 through 25, what do we see? We see a long time past, during which the king of Egypt died. The Israelites, here it is, groaned under the bondage, here it is, and cried out, and from their bondage, their cry for help went up to Yahweh. Didn't I say that? When Yahweh is walking with you, he's saying, follow me. That means your conscience is telling you to do what is right, brother. It's telling you to do what is right, sister. Don't be afraid to introduce yourself to your brother. Don't be afraid to introduce yourself to a messenger. Because if you want to save your life by this book of understanding, I tell you, the kingdom is ready for you. Because Yah says in verse 24, right? Yah heard their mourning. That means their prayers. And Yahweh, Yahuah, was mindful of his covenant. That means he remembered what he made with Noah and Moses. Remember the rainbow? Because this will be a remembrance of the covenant that I made with Israel. He says, was mindful of his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and here we go, even Esau. In today, they're part of the 1/3 from all different nations. Wouldn't there be some white and Chinese and all kind of other nations in that 1/3? So that means that we cannot oppress every white person, right? Because that'll be wicked. So now he says, Yahuah saw the Israelites and knew, and Yahuah knew, left it just like that, what he was going to do. So now as we see, my brothers and sisters, that here it is, yes, this was bondage then, physically, brick and mortar, they built Egypt. And then there was a bondage that brought our ancestors to a land that they didn't know, had no understanding of. And this tortured them over and over and over. So here it is, we see 430 years in the desert of Africa. Then we see 150 years in America. 2007 was the release of slavery, 400 years of bondage of your mind, brother and sister. That's what that stated. It was telling you, you finna start waking up, those of you who are fighting for your life and love the truth and love following in your book so you can implement it in your heart because you saw it. Whatever you see with your eyes, you receive it, right? Because you are reading it. Now understand, we know Yahuwah loved us as he had also loved our ancestors. We see today's world is just like Pharaoh of the past. Didn't I say that? We see he also has raised up modern day prophet and messengers for the people, just like myself, your brother Israel Yashambaya. I like to prefer or refer myself as messenger of Yahuah. It allows us his glory to shine by his example. Let's go to Exodus chapter 7. Let's see an example of the glory of my Father, which will shine bright in you, in your children, and everything around your household. You must steady fast. Chapter 7 of Exodus 1 through 7. The Almighty answered Moses, see, I have made you, here it is, an almighty messenger to Pharaoh. They got God. And Aaron, your brother, will be your what? Prophet, foreseer. You will speak all that I command you. That's what I'm doing here, brothers and sisters. In turn, your brother Aaron will tell Pharaoh to let the Israelites go out of his land. Didn't I just say that? Yet I will make Pharaoh so headstrong that despite many signs and wonders that I work in the land of Egypt, verse 4, Pharaoh will not listen to you, therefore I will lay my hand on Egypt. And with mighty acts of judgment, then we just talk about that, brothers and sisters. Okay? The Israelites out of the land of Egypt, verse 5, all Egyptians will know, here it is, will know that I am the Almighty One, Yahweh. When I stretch out my hand against Egypt, they got Lord there, and bring the Israelites out of their midst, this then is what Moses and Aaron did. See that? They followed Yahweh. He said, follow me. Moses got the memo, and here it is. And by the time he got to Aaron, Aaron was already ready to act into prophecy to help Moses, right? His brother. They did exactly as the Almighty Father had commanded them. Verse 7. Moses, here we go, was 80 years old, and Aaron was 83 when they spoke to Pharaoh. Did you know that? See, y'all want to give you complete details of the men that was working at that time for the house in the kingdom of Jerusalem that is to come. And here it is. It has traveled, everyone, to your generation right now before you. Anyone that catch this stream and all that is here is receiving prophecy of adjustments, spiritual legislations of the law. That's right. Being planted in your heart to allow you to know that the kingdom of my Father is at hand. To give you and your children the benefit to know that death is not death, what is coming. If you hold on to what is being said here, you save your life, because it's going to teach you how to be strong when the oppression of death comes for you. We have seen many men beheaded before, which is so cliche. And now here it is, we're being oppressed by all different kind of branches of the UN. Prices of everything is out of whack. Homes are sitting on lots with no human beings in them because the price is so high. Then we're seeing wicked people enjoying raising prices. You got to ask yourself, where is all that wickedness coming from? It takes you right back to the Euphrates River of the ancient Babylon of Abraham. In those 5 cities that was there sitting on the Euphrates River. Why you think they're finding gold? Why you think they're finding pottery? Okay? Do your history research, brothers and sisters. Knowing why America have copycatted everything that was in the ancient Babylon. When you go up and down Washington, D.C., you see everything that ancient Babylon of the Euphrates River had. Same buildings, same temples, same sanctuaries. They even got everything in 3D imagery where they can show you exactly how it looked. I got photos of ancient Babylon where Abraham came from. But here it is. Many don't know it was a copy. America copied everything. And people don't see that. Those who are lost. Now, as we have gotten to verse 7, we see the age of Moses and Aaron, right? Brothers and sisters, we are now free from bondage. That's right. I tell you this. If you, here it is, accepted the new covenant of the Spirit of Yahweh, Yeshua, we are to keep this covenant as we see the reminder. Here it is, that reminder in chapter 13 of Exodus, right? Go to Exodus. Go back there and now read verse 16. What do verse 16 tell us? It says, it will be like a sign. Wow. What is a sign? On your hand and a band on your forehead. With a strong hand, the Almighty brought us out of Egypt. Right? So now as we have read, let's look at 8 through 16 now. Because he says, and on that day you will explain to your son. See, this is why every parent try to bring their children up right. Try to tell them, instruct them, have to use the rod to discipline them, to make sure that they put enough obedience in them where they don't go out there and break the law that they have set for their children. That is through the Spirit of Yahweh. Every child must understand that their parent loved them. Here it is at one time before they become lost. Because many children became lost. Dealing with other children who are lost. Same with other adults. They are lost. Dealing with other lost. So now we're seeing here, this is a complete example. He says, and on that day you will explain to your sons, this is because of what the Almighty Yahweh did for me when I came out of Egypt. See, they were lost, but now they are found and saved. It will be like a sign on your hand and a reminder on your forehead. See, a reminder means salvation. When everybody say that word, they forget that the helmet is salvation. Father Yah says, I will put the helmet of salvation upon you. That means deliverance, brother. So now he says, so that the teachings of the Almighty Father Yahweh will be on your what? Lips. When you walk around your world, do you see people talking and discussing Yahweh? No. You see them talking about things of the world, right? No one seems to have time for Yahweh no more, right? Only a few remnant is justified. So now he says, it should be on your lips with a strong heart. The Almighty, here it is, and he brought you out with a strong hand out of Egypt. Out of Egypt. So now we see, you will keep this statute, verse 10, at his appointed time from year to year. So now we see that the old law and the new law and the third testament is all together. And it comes through the Spirit of Yahweh. This is how you now are baptized in to keep the covenant. By being possessed by the Spirit of my Father Yahweh. Now he says in verse 11, when the Almighty Yahweh, your Yahuah, has brought you into the land of the Canaanites, that go to the Euphrates River, then Abraham tell his servant, do not go to the land of where I came from to get a wife for my son. because he knew them women were wicked. They were sleeping with everybody. Men on men and women on women. They were serving all false gods. When you walked into, here it is, ancient Babylon, you've seen all the things you see right now on Washington, D.C. and much, much more. He said, the land of the Canaanites, just as he swore to you and your ancestors, and give it to you. You see that? So now we know why Joseph's people were in Canaan, which was Babylon. They came out of Babylon and went to Egypt. Egypt used to have trade going on with ancient Babylon. Many didn't know that. So now in verse 12, he says, you will be dedicated to the Almighty Yahweh. Every newborn that opens the womb or come through it, and every firstborn male of your animals, here it is, will belong to the Almighty, right? Verse 13. Every firstborn, here it is, of a donkey, you will ransom with a sheep. You see that? Ransom, trade. Okay? Keep the sheep, trade the donkeys. And he says, if you do not ransom it, you will break its neck. Every human firstborn of your sons you must ransom. And when your sons ask you later on, what does this mean? You will tell them with a strong hand or with a strong heart of understanding, the Almighty brought us out of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. Verse 15, when Pharaoh stubbornly, here it is, refused to let us go. Now he's still explaining this to a child. This is how we are supposed to pass the torch. But as we see, our ancestors that was in slavery in America didn't pass anything to the offsprings. They passed the curse. So now understand, the Almighty Yahweh killed every firstborn in the land of Egypt, the firstborn of human beings and beasts alike. That is why, here it is, I sacrifice to the Almighty every male that opens the womb, and why I ransom every firstborn of my son, of my sons. It will be like a sign on your hand and on your band of your forehead, that with a strong hand the Almighty brought us out of Egypt. Now understand, this was done, brothers and sisters. But here it is. Some, here it is, was catching a curse and a blessing at the same time. That's right. Because here it is, Yah says, here it is, I am walking with you, and I am telling you to follow me, to love me, to reach out to me, to make yourself known that here it is, you love the truth. How can good be with bad? How can bad understand good? It's impossible. Because here it is, what we just described, if anyone have oppressed you in any way, where is your apology from the heart? Where is the commitment of love that you say you have? How could you live without understanding that you must be delivered? Because here it is, if you don't redeem yourself out of all of the things you have done first, and then come on to the Father, because he's already with you, watching you, how you don't know that here it is, every time you pray, you don't get your prayers answered, is because you are not delivering yourself. You're still keeping yourself in bondage with your thoughts. And your heart is becoming more wicked every day. So now you got to realize, what road are you on? Are you following Yahweh? No. You're following the devil if you're outside his covenant. So now we see this, brothers and sisters. Then the Most High gives us victory over any situations we may face. Now, brothers and sisters, it shows us this in the truth, because when we look at verse 17, it clearly tells you here that Yah has mercy and forgiveness. He says in verse 17, now when Pharaoh let the people go, Yahuah did not lead them by the way of the Philistines. See that? Now we got people in America saying, fight for Gaza, fight for Philistine. He did not lead them the way of the Philistines' land. But though he led them through, this was the nearest, for Yahuah said, if the people see that they have to fight, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. Have y'all ever saw that? Y'all have never ever saw Yah say that in the movies. But today you're able to see what Yah said. They had doubt even though they was already free from Egypt. When they were getting chased, okay? And throughout the night, people still had doubt. But here it is. They had confidence. Because here it is, this confidence, he says, I want to make sure that they survive. I don't want them to change their minds and to return to Egypt. Verse 18, instead, Yah rerouted them towards where? The Red Sea. So he didn't want them to pass through the Philistines out of Israel, going through there, coming that way, because now you're seeing it was headed south from the north. Okay? And here it is. They went through the Red Sea by the way of the wilderness road. So they went through those passages. Now that is in the Maccabees. Some of your books don't have Maccabees. So I advise most of my brothers and sisters to go to wherever you can order that better book to make sure Maccabees in there to read this history. So now when we look here, we see they went through the road. Here it is. The Israelites went up out of the land of Egypt. Here it is. He rerouted them, right, to the Red Sea by the way of the wilderness. And the Israelites went up out of the land of Egypt, arrayed for battle. See that? Because now the Egyptians, like I spoke earlier, they were angry. Because now they had no one to help them with all of their building and stuff like that. And the people of Egyptians, they didn't want to be servants. They wanted someone else to do that. Same thing with America. They want someone else to do that, right? And who is the most people who is oppressed to do that? The so-called African American, the Judite, who are basically, here it is, who you are. And here it is, Father is calling you back, all those who will listen to consciousness of the mind that follows to the heart. Because here it is, he's talking about a spiritual covenant that he's making, right? So now when we see in verse 17, and also in Exodus chapter 15, let's go up there, verse 20 and 21 of Exodus. We see clearly here, my brothers and sisters, in verse 20, then the prophets, Miriam, Aaron's sister, took a tambourine in her hand while all the women went out after her with a tambourine. Here we go, dancing. And then in verse 21, and she responded to them, sing to the Almighty Yahweh, for he is gloriously, here it is, Almighty, who triumphed, horse and chariot, he has cast into the sea. So now here it is, this was a celebration. Because when Yah knows that you have heard that he says, follow me, he answered your prayers because now you have noticed your call. And now here it is, he can deliver you piece by piece, not like the churches dumping water and then you automatically righteous. No, this comes in steps. Your commitment have to be in steps. You have to be a warrior in step, ready to take the next order of commandment from my Father. That's right. Because here it is, you got to realize this is a spiritual war, my brothers and sisters. As we all will be doing in the modern time, the new world order, we also will overcome it. And then will be called up to the Master Yeshua, Yahweh, here it is, as the set apart spirits of called Israelites, and he will lead us into the spiritual path wilderness now. As we see the passage, And here it is, Exodus 15, 22 to 25. Now, when we get to 22:25, we see, then Moses led Israel forward from the Red Sea, and they marched out to the wilderness of Shur. After traveling for 3 days through the wilderness without finding water, verse 23, they arrived at Meribah, where they could not drink its water because it was too bitter. That means it was toxic. Okay? Like today, the water is becoming shortened and it's also becoming toxic. They are using recycled water now in most bars to make their own beer. I'm talking about Bill Gates. When you do a research, Google on Bill Gates recycled water, that'll help you out, brothers and sisters, a little bit better. Now, here it is. This place was called Meribah, Mara, as the people grumbled against Moses, saying, what are we to drink? Verse 25. He cried out to the Almighty Yahweh, who pointed out to him a piece of wood. Here it is. When he threw it into the water became fresh. It was here that Yahuah, the Father, in making statutes and ordinance for them. That's right. The Father through the Son. Then he says, put them to the test. See, everybody got to be tested. So when you hear the truth, you'll be able to stand every bit of it because you want it in you. When you can't stand the truth, people flee like Dracula. And here it is. They only can be around when there's no righteousness or protection, right? And they go straight for the neck, right? So now here it is. You are seeing clearly that here in verse 22, 25, about this water, in verse, here it is, 25, he cried out to the Almighty Yahweh, my Father, who pointed out to him a piece of wood. And then, therefore, when he picked it up, he threw it into the water, and the water became what? Able to be drunk or drinking. It was here that Yahweh was making his statutes and ordinance for Israelites, making his presence known that he is real. Many people don't believe that Yahuah is real when he clearly says, I am spirit, and I can pour my spirit out on anyone that I choose, right? Now we see free a little and free will being used, right? Let's go to Exodus chapter 18. And when we get here, we're going to look at verse 24 and 27. Now watch what happens. Moses listened to his, here it is, father-in-law or his earth parent-in-law and did all that he had said, right? He picked out able men. That's right. That's what we do. Yah is counting people who are able. So he says he picked out able men from all Israel. Now we're picking women and men who are able, and put them in charge of people as commanders of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens, right? Verse 26. They rendered what? A decision for the people in all routine cases. That means here it is. If they couldn't figure out how to solve things, then another brother and sister had to help them with that. That means they had to come forth to help, right? They couldn't just be silent. So now he says they rendered decision for the people in all routine cases. The more difficult cases, they referred to who? Moses. But all the lesser cases, they settled themselves, right? Verse 27. Then Moses said farewell to his earth parent-in-law, who went off to his own country. So now here it is. These are examples, my brothers and sisters, to show you. Here it is. Others are being put in charge through the Spirit of Yah, just as Moses directed those men in that time. And now today, Yahweh is directing women and men to be commanders of this battle, to help aid and assist families and also children. Because see, here is teenagers have the ability to be able as well, if their parents is enabling the scripture. Because here it is, you have to fight for your life. If you don't fight for your life, what do you do in a battle? You die. So now understand, then we also see the Most High use us to help each other to remain in spiritual law, right? With the master, Yahuah. Our ancestors came into the relationship with him, who is Yahuah, because he tells you this in Exodus chapter 19, verse 1 through 25. Now, I will want y'all to read all of that. And I will read some of it, because this was the arrival at Sinai. And we see that here it is. They went to Rephidah. And then we see also here in verse 5, now if you obey me completely, it says, in chapter 19, Exodus, verse 5. Now, if you obey me completely and keep my covenant, you will be my treasured possession among all peoples, though all the earth and through all the earth is mine. You will be my kingdom of priests. See that? My kingdom, you'll be my priest in my kingdom, a set apart nation. That is what you must tell the Israelites. So now I want you all to read all of that 1 through 23. 1 through 25. So now, my brothers and sisters, is the powerful promise made with all the Israelites and anyone today. This promise is made for you if you can handle the truth. Because here it is, Father is saying, here it is, I come for you. Why would you deny the service of truth? If you say you have love in your heart, where is your truth? Love comes with truth and understanding of that truth. Now let's turn to Exodus 31, everyone. And I want to look at verse 12 through 18, because we're still saying, my Father is saying, I am walking with you. And I want you to follow me. Follow me. Follow me. This is a trumpet blast. Follow me. How many in your world will follow me with their whole heart by knowing what they know now, what I speak? Will they follow the truth? Because here it is, the truth sets us free, right? Now watch this. In chapter 31, and we're looking at verse 12 and 18, right? Now we know that Christmas, birthdays, Easter, all the stuff people celebrate, which is belligerent. Because here it is, you're out of your minds. You are in complete confusion. How to love and serve. You're serving the wrong things because you don't know that you are in Babylon. And these curses upon Babylon from ancient Babylon. Even the leader of nations said, do not take or get a son for me out of Canaan, out of Babylon. So now here it is. Why would people today in America want to introduce their children to wickedness? Don't you want to evaluate who your children hanging out with today more than ever? Because here it is, children are being turned and spent around so fast that by the time they get back to your house, you don't even understand who they are. And sometimes even in marriages, in relationships, people go out into the world, I'm talking about adults now, will do the same thing as children because they haven't grown up to an understanding of my Father. Now, as we get here, they serve all of the man's traditions. But what did my father say? In this book, in verse 31, and here in verse 12, chapter 31, the Almighty said to Moses, you must also tell the Israelites, between you and me, throughout the generations. He didn't say just for this generation. He says throughout the generations, right? So now he says throughout the generations, to show that it is I, the Almighty Yahweh, who make you set apart. Therefore, you must keep the Sabbath, for it is set apart, and it is righteous for you. Whoever desecrate it shall be put to death, right? If anyone does work on that day, that person must be cut off from his people. Verse 15, 6 days there are for doing work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of complete rest, set apart for the Almighty. Anyone who does work on the Sabbath day shall be put to death. So watch this. If you are saying you are so righteous and a good person, I don't care what religion you follow. What did the Bible say? Because it was before any books that ever was printed. So now understand that this scroll was printed and written by prophets, messengers, to go on throughout the generations, as the book says here in my father's scroll called the Hebrew book. He clearly says that they will be put to death if they serve anything, but here it is, forget my Sabbath, which is Saturday. People are going places every day on Saturday. They buying stuff on Saturday. They shopping. They having a good time. They serving any holiday on a Saturday. They working on Saturday. They boss is supposed to have them off, but boss is going to make them work because they didn't tell them that they supposed to follow this law and they cannot work Saturdays. Okay? So now you got to check yourself to say, wow, I didn't know that. Why am I working and buying things? Look at Nehemiah chapter 13 to follow up on that. But as I continue to read, he clearly says here, verse 16, so shall, here it is, the Israelites observe the Sabbath, keeping it throughout all generations as an everlasting covenant. That means it doesn't die, brothers and sisters. If you are ordering and buying anything on Saturday, you are sinning deliberately. And now that you have heard and seen it in the book, Exodus 31, 12 through 18, it clearly tells you Saturday is set apart. You are to do nothing, buy nothing, order nothing, go and do nothing. No work. You are to be set apart. Verse 17, it is set apart between me and the Israelites. It is to be an everlasting sign or commitment. For in 6 days the Almighty made the heavens and the earth. Did y'all forget that? That was in Genesis. But on the 7th day, I said the 7th day, because y'all didn't call it Saturday. He called it day. So now understand, he says, but on the 7th day, he rested. He rested at ease. So you're supposed to enjoy yourself on Saturday. Sit back, have a movie, cook some dinner or whatever. Enjoy your children, your husband or your wives, your family. And therefore, talk about Yah, what good he has done. To bless him. To therefore make sure that you are accepting him on Saturday with all of your heart. To commit to his ways, to do nothing but to honor his law. Because you just seen it right now. So now in 18, he says, when the Almighty had finished speaking to Moses, so this is clearly saying he's alive. So many people don't think Yahweh is real or alive, but here it is, it's telling you Moses spoke, and here it is, understood On Mount Sinai, he gave him 2 tablets of the covenant, the stone tablets inscribed by Yahuah's own finger. My Father, praise you, Father, Yahshua, in Yahweh's name. Because here it is, it have went on through the generations as the book said. And we done seen man in churches in many congregations tell you, introduce to you many times before we got to this place, all of us at one time visit a church. Our parents, our grandmothers at one time, Easter or one of them, you done been at a building that is built by brick and mortar, as we have read, that is complete evil. Because they are teaching you another doctrine, and here it is trying to overlay it, and here it is have you confused. And now you're seeing how the devil has operated through the generations of time. Okay? And now we're seeing that many don't keep the Sabbath, but they say they're good people. How? When you don't serve my Father, you don't commit to the standards. I can watch you every day and you're committing sin. How can I friend you? What do good have with evil, right? So now you got to realize why we are set apart. We will not be around, or here it is, trying to commit to evil. No, it don't work that way in this last generation. You need to read Isaiah 42. For I am. And here it is, back to the lesson. It is clear, my brothers and sisters, we see today people are not keeping this law of promise, as you just heard and read for yourselves, right? We are to come and renew ourselves with the covenant. Now, this is logic. He shows us this, and here it is available. Many of you haven't seen Exodus 32 in verse 30 and 35. When we look at Exodus 32, verse 30, what do you see, brothers and sisters? On the next day, Moses said to the people, just like Yah says, I want you to instruct the people. You have committed a grave sin. Now I will go up to the Almighty Yahweh. Perhaps I may be able to make atonement for your sins. Verse 31. So Moses returned to the Almighty Yahweh and said, this people has committed a grave sin in making a, here it is, deity of gold for themselves. Verse 32. Now, if you would only forgive their sins. Now, this is Moses trying to save and help the people. But if you will not, then blot me out of the book that you have written. See, Moses was ready to die for the people, but not die for my Father. Now you can understand why he was held back. People are following people. You can't do that. You got to follow the spirit of my Father at all times. Why? Because he's going to introduce you to the truth. He's going to make sure your moral conduct is correct, and making sure your covenant in heart is correct, and making sure you love your brothers and sisters correct. Because here it is. If not, you're going to be judged. And he clearly says now in verse 33, the Almighty answered Moses, only the one who has sinned against me will be blotted out of my book. You see this? Verse 34. Now go and lead the people where I have told you. See, my angel will go before you when it is time for me to punish. See, my Father is going to show up and show out. And the Son will be there in many of the saints. So he says, see, my angel will go before you when it is time for me to punish. I will punish them for their sins. Verse 35, the Almighty Yahweh struck the people for making the calf. The one that Aaron made, his brother, who helped out with that. So now, as you see today, your brother Israel Yahweh is letting you know you don't even supposed to shop on Saturday. Because the word says that. You ain't supposed to buy a bottle of water on Saturday. That's sin throughout the generations. So only real prophets going to show you how to be a real Israelite, because only the real 144,000 only will use Yahuah, Yahweh, because that is my Father's name. Any other name could be fine, but it's not good to use, because we must stick with the original. Yahweh was the first of first, okay? Then all other names came, okay? The J is only 500 plus years old when you look it up and Google it. How old is the J? So you know it's impossible to be in the scrolls thousands of years ago. So why would you be fooled when you don't have to be? So now as we see this, brothers and sisters, we understand and we see this in the text. Then he says here in 35, the Almighty struck the people for making the calf, right? So he will strike you for shopping on Saturday because you're breaking the law. He will strike your children. He said, I will decide when I'm going to do it, though. It might not come today, tomorrow, or next month, but my curse and my judgment will be sent out by my angels who have observed thee doing these wicked things, and I will actually judge and persecute that person. See? And then you got brothers and sisters wondering why they walking around here all mad and angry and upset with life. It's because you done forgot something. The truth. Now realize, anyone outside of the promise will be punished by Yahuah himself. Those of us who remain will be what? Radiant in the spirit. That means you will see our light. Oh, them good people. Yeah, that's my brother. Oh, that's my sister. Because you can see their actions. They're not like the others. There's something about them. And this is how it was in every generation with the Israelites. People saw the difference. See, you can see nighttime and you can see daytime. So why can't people understand evil and good? But see, here it is. They can understand the good, but they don't see how to become good. Today, IVI, Intelligent Voices Israelites, is showing you that, brothers and sisters. We'll be radiant in the spirit with Yeshua as the example. Now let's go to Exodus 34 chapter. And let's look at verse 27 through 35. See, I want to show you all the evidence by being obedient in this body to allow my Father's Spirit to show you this. I'm learning with you. So now realize, verse 27 through 35 clearly says, then the Almighty Yeshua said to Moses, write down these words, for in accordance with these words, I have made a covenant with you and with the Israelites. Verse 28, so Moses was there with the Almighty Yahuah for 40 days and 40 nights without eating any food or drinking any water, and he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant. Now see, brothers and sisters, your friend, your brother, Yeshua, I have did such things. My Father has allowed me with no supplements for 40 days and 40 nights. And only my family can verify. I'm still alive in here, just as Moses, just as my father. But there was a spiritual thing being done. And here it is, it'll be the same spiritual thing being done in you. Because now you'll be able, men and women, to carry out such a sacrifice. 40 days and 40 nights without eating or drinking. Okay? You must trust in my Father. Now understand this. When we get and see this again, he made a covenant with you and with Israel. right? And then Moses was there with the Almighty 40 days and 40 nights without eating food or drinking any water. And he wrote the tablets of the word. Why did he do that? See, your spirit had to be, or your body had to be completely empty out today. Because back in Moses' time, it was a conscious mind matter to be obedient, to hear, to listen. And here it is, he wrote the 12 commandments. And therefore, he made sure that they were wrote well. But then, therefore, when he came down, he seen what his brother and all the Israelites was doing, and then he destroyed the tablets because they were unworthy to even hear them for what they were doing. Now, when we walk around, brothers and sisters, who are part of the new covenant of Yah by being obedient to it, you completely see what? People doing the opposite of what you are doing. And here it is, you know that they're lost in the sauce. So now here it is, what will we want to do? We want to return these brothers and sisters, if possible. Because when they see us, they see the radiant spirit of Yahweh. And when they see the covenant of Yahweh. Now here it is in verse 28 as I continue. He says, so Moses was there. Now, verse 29, as Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of the commandment in his hands, he did not know that the skin of his face had become radiant. That means with light. That means he looked it so bright, reserved, while he spoke with the Almighty. When Aaron then and the other Israelites saw Moses and noticed how radiant his skin of his face had become, they were afraid to come near him. Only after Moses called to them did Aaron and all the leaders of the community come back to him. Moses then spoke to them. Verse 32. Later, all the Israelites came up to him, and he enjoined on them all that the Almighty had told him. Ain't that what your brother Israel Yahweh is doing here at IVI, Intelligent Voices Israelites? Showing you this radiance of this spirit of truth, giving you the fruit of the labor. Here it is that you didn't have to work for because it's free. Learning you the knowledge of understanding by the wisdom of my Father, Yahuah, Yeshua, Yahweh. So now realize you have to be ready, brothers and sisters. You have to be ready as soldiers. You have to be ready as real Israelites. You have to stand up and be accounted for. You got to know that Yah is real and he's for you. Now realize this. Here we go. As we continue. In 32, later, all the Israelites came up to him. Now 34, when Moses entered the presence of the Almighty to speak with him, he removed the veil until he came out again. On coming out, he would tell the Israelites all that he had been commanded. See, we don't hold this back because here it is. Yah says, until the truth, until the gospel is spread it throughout the world, then your end will come. So now you know what your brother Israel Yahweh and my other brothers around the world, who you can notice as well, is spreading this gospel. Now realize clearly in verse 33, when Moses finished speaking with them, he put the veil over his face. 34, whenever Moses entered the presence of the Almighty Yahweh, Yahuah, to speak with him, he removed the veil until he came out again. On coming out, he would tell the Israelites all he had been commanded. Verse 35. Then the Israelites would see that the skin of Moses' face was radiant. So he would again put the veil over his face until he went to speak with the Almighty Yahweh again. Because here it is, separation have to be until you are complete. As we know, Moses had doubt. So that ain't 360 complete. And then therefore, it ain't complete again. Why? Another 360, because that comes from the Father Yahuah. So when you lace both 360 together, you have a higher understanding of 720. So now here it is. You have been amplified in wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Now, see here, as we have seen, this is a great thing showing of love of the covenant. Now I tell you, my brothers and sisters, we are the tabernacle now. That's right. Your body can become the tabernacle now, which is today. And in the world, it means, here it is, spiritual church. But now we understand that the spiritual church is here, not in brick and mortar. But let's see the blessings that the Master Yahweh in his glory will be upon the modern spiritual church today. As this will be by example for your heart of peace to know you are the spiritual church now. Because it have told you this in Exodus chapter 35, 1 through 35. When you go there, you see the Sabbath regulations. Because now you know you are to keep Saturday righteous, set apart from all the other days. You are not to go out and shop and buy things. You are not to actually have people buying things, bringing them to your house. Because here it is, you are in covenant mode on the Sabbath, which is the Saturday, the seventh day. Okay? And here it is, you are to tell others, I ain't buying anything. I can't buy anything on Saturday. Why? Because it is the Sabbath. I am to keep it righteous, as the book in the righteous Hebrew Bible have told me, my historical record book. It is my time machine, my past, my present, and all the way to my future. I must keep covenant. This is what you tell yourself, brother. This is what you tell yourself, sister, because without it, we done prove you will be destroyed, right? And so should all children that do not obey the covenant that's in you, as you teach them, as Moses taught the Israelites. Now, as this, here it is, show us more law inside of us to put there by Yahshua Yahweh. He puts this in your heart. You can't just get this out of thin air. Your heart have to be willing as a mustard seed. Remember, Yeshua said, if it is small as a mustard seed, that's how much your faith needs to be to start yourself in growth and development and adjustments. Okay? It will supplement you with the fruit and the harvest of his labor. And here it is, the blood of sacrifice. Now realize, as we also see in Exodus chapter 40, let's go there, 1 through 38. These are all what I want you all to read on your own terms. Because yes, you must put some labor in too. That's right. And Yah says you must do so to show yourself worthy. If you cannot pick up a Bible and read it, something is totally wrong with you. If you cannot actually try to save and fight for your life in a new world order, something is wrong with you. Now, we know which is already set up. Once the set apart spirit enters our being, this is logic, we are now divine by nature. We have all the skills that come by the set apart spirit. My brothers and sisters, I hope you have received this new wisdom for your heart, and it is now with understanding, right? How far we all have come from Genesis to Exodus and beyond. Please allow yourself to remain with this understanding that is from Yahshua, Yahweh. I am so blessed to be your spiritual attribute to help you grow this way into the covenant that has been made for all who wants it, who are willing to be saved by the correct doctrine of the historical record book called the Bible and our faith, which lies in its pages. So please go in peace, and by a blessing and being a blessing to others who you are led to touch, because Yah will allow you to know who is your brother now. who is your sister now. Don't be afraid to reach out. Honor that commitment. Keep Yahweh. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, I send out my shalom, my shaloms. And I thank my Father for allowing me to be here to be used in this body to allow you to see the details of the truth of Moses. And from the start of Genesis up until Exodus, and now being able to take you beyond your understanding of the truth. Thank you for allowing me to be seen by you. Thank you for being a part of this ministry, because here it is. It will allow you to graft in all wisdom and knowledge. And here it is, be committed to my Father to take it forward into your household, among your children, among your family members, so they can understand what is really going on. Shalom, shalom.